Happy holidays, everyone, and welcome to Movies You Missed podcast. I'm V.
I'm John.
How you doing today, John?
Good, very good. Excited to get into these two movies today, for sure.
Definitely, especially because your pick was a movie I'd never seen before.
I know. I still am kind of surprised by that, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, especially because my best friend Simbri loves that movie, my good friend Carly loves that movie, my mother loves that movie and even owns it as one of the very few DVDs that she actually owns. It is one
fantastic.
of them. Yeah, and so I'm actually kind of surprised I've never seen it either. We'll get into talking about that shortly, but I will say that I was very, very happy you picked that movie.
I'm very glad.
Yes.
And I look forward to the discussion indeed.
Yeah, so before that, welcome to our podcast. This is Movies You Missed. We are two industry veterans who have collectively 25 years of experience in the movie industry and have also been friends since we were about 12 years old.
Indeed.
We like to recommend movies every week without spoiling them.
And it's so much fun to do so.
Yes, it's challenging sometimes. I know we like
can
to.
be, yeah.
Sometimes we would really like to get into the twist of some movies and discuss it at
we
length.
really do have to bite our tongues. It's kind of irritating. You can see the agitation in both of our faces while we record this. Like, I just want to keep going, but we can't keep going.
Yes, but because this is a recommendation podcast, because we want to introduce you to movies, we hold fast to our rule of no spoilers on this show.
None. No spoilers.
And before we get into our movies, we really like to talk about what new movies John and I have seen during the week. And this week, I believe both of us saw some new movies.
Yes, we did. I'm curious about which ones you saw, because I think I know about one of them, but I don't know about the other one.
You don't?
All right. This week, I saw 3 new movies. They actually were all fairly pretty good. I can't say that any of them were boring because they were entertaining all the way through. And like last week, I went with the bad news first. There's really no bad news this time, I don't feel. This was Sonic the Hedgehog 2 starring Jim Carrey and James Marsden. I liked the first Sonic the Hedgehog. I thought it was pretty good. I was surprised at actually how good it was. I think just like everybody else that saw it, they were just like, wow, that was good. And seeing how good it was, everybody was like, well, okay, let's see what happens next. It was pretty good. I really enjoyed it. It moved along really nicely. I gotta say, the animation is quite spectacular. I mean, when Knuckles shows up, it is like just fantastic animation all around.
Nice. Yeah. I will always remember Sonic for having the major fan backlash when they released the first mock-ups of Sonic, and everybody was like,
yes,
what the fuck is that character? Because it's not Sonic.
Yeah. It was so crazy how that internet petition actually did force the studio to give us the correct looking Sonic, because literally within 3 months, all of a sudden we had OG Sonic on TV. So yeah, that was awesome. Sonic, as we all know, was on Sega Genesis. I never had a Sega Genesis. I went from Nintendo to PlayStation, so I kind of missed the Genesis train. But I really did like both of these Sonic the Hedgehog movies, and you really cannot go wrong with Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik. He really does elevate these movies to another level, and for being a PG-rated movie, the double entendres are absolutely spectacular.
He's a great kid's villain.
Oh, yeah.
I love him in Lemony Snicket.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one, too.
Yeah, I really, really like
The Grinch.
Oh, the Grinch, exactly. I love him as a kid's villain. He's great.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Gotta love Jim Carrey. So that's Sonic the Hedgehog, and the second film that I watched was I believe it was a Netflix produced, actually, maybe Netflix bought it after, distribution and whatnot. This movie is called Gunpowder Milkshake, and this was a lot of fun. It stars Karen Gillan. She is Nebula in the MCU. Stars Lena Headey, Carla Gugino, Michelle Yeoh, Angela Bassett, Paul Giamatti. I mean, it's got some names.
Damn.
And it is a lot of fun. Karen Gillan is an assassin and kind of gets born into that life. And it's really a badass movie. There's a lot of really great comedy and a lot of sharp wit and very great action sequences, so I definitely recommend that. And we all know that I enjoy a really high-flying female ass-kicking movie.
Yeah, absolutely, and that is definitely a movie I need to tell my dad about, and by tell him, I mean we just did, because he listens to the podcast.
There you go.
So, Dad,
yes.
Add Gunpowder Milkshake to your Netflix watch list.
Yes. Very entertaining film. And the last one I watched was the Jordan Peele directed, starring Keke Palmer and David Kaluuya. That was Nope. I believe Stephen Ewan is in that as well. Please forgive me if I'm pronouncing the names incorrectly. But Nope, as we all, I'm sure, saw the trailer, and I enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was pretty good. It was, I think, about 2 hours long. It didn't feel like it was slow at any moment. It wasn't necessarily scary, but it was definitely thrilling. So if anybody's looking for a cool alien flick, definitely check out Nope.
Awesome. Yes, I've heard differing opinions on that movie, so it's good to hear yours.
Yeah, I know. I've heard differing as well. I've heard that, it's one of the worst movies of the year. I've heard it's one of the best. I would say it definitely falls closer to one of the best of the year, but I don't think it's as far as going the best of the year. I mean, my best of the year is likely going to happen in the next week, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, those were the 3 films that I watched. Very enjoyable movies. If you're looking for something new to watch and haven't seen any of those 3, give them a shot.
Awesome.
And what about you, V? What did you see? I only know about the one.
Yes, which is The Menu that I saw in theaters with Ray Fiennes, John Leguizamo, and any listeners of our podcast know we're a fan of his.
I actually did not know he was in that.
Yeah, and also Nicholas Hoult, who I'm a fan of, and Anya Taylor-Joy, who you're a fan of.
Yes. Big fan, yes.
She was great in this movie. Oh my gosh.
Awesome.
She's so good in this movie. Everybody was. This movie is really interesting. It's really twisted.
Is it really?
It is not for the faint of heart.
Oh, okay.
A bit of a psychological thriller.
Oh.
It's awesome, kind of fucked up. It's great.
All right, sweet.
It's definitely rated R. It's not for someone who's looking to see a nice holiday or rom-com movie during the month of December. It's very, very good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And
I look forward to checking that one out. I definitely want to see it.
Yeah. And for anybody who's curious, it's about a restaurant on an island that is super duper high end. It's over $1,200 a person. It's extremely exclusive, and it's about one night in this restaurant run by Ray Fiennes. That's about all I'll tell you, but it is.
That's enough.
Yeah, it's twisted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely want to check it out. Another friend of mine told me that it was great too, and we're both big fans of Anya Taylor-Joy as well. So, yeah, I definitely want to check it out.
Great. Yes, please do. And then the other one I saw was a movie that was in theaters for a short amount of time, and now it's on streaming, so I actually watched it on Peacock. I watched the brand new rom-com with Julia Roberts and George Clooney called Ticket to Paradise.
Is that on streaming now? Because actually,
it's now on Peacock.
My wife, I think, just went to the theater to see that with my mother, actually. Oh. And I wanted to see it too. So if it's on Peacock, I'll definitely watch it.
Yes.
Oh well, or should I not watch it?
No. Oh, great question. So it's nothing groundbreaking in the genre, nothing new added to the genre of rom-com.
Sure.
But it is a fun movie. It is shot in gorgeous locations, and what honestly elevates this movie for me is the chemistry between Julia Roberts and George Clooney.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
They have great banter and play off each other. Watching them in every scene together was extremely fun. And so it really brought this rom-com that's a pretty standard rom-com up to a solid B movie in terms of grading. So awesome. Yeah, I mean, it's one that I would recommend in passing. I wouldn't recommend it emphatically to my friends and go out and tell everybody about it. But it was fun, and if anybody asks me, I'll tell them that I enjoyed it. And give it a shot. It's on streaming now, so what do you got to lose?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'll do. I'm a big Clooney fan. I usually will watch him in just about anything, and I usually do like Julia Roberts. So, and you can't go wrong with both of them. They were in Ocean's 11 also together, and they were great in that. Yeah,
and have been good friends ever since, and God, George Clooney is smoking hot. He's gotten so hot with older age. I didn't think he was hot in the 90s when he was in ER. I was like, okay, whatever. And all these women were freaking out about him. But now that he's older, I'm like, damn. Yeah, Silver Fox status. He's hot.
That's funny.
So he was fun to watch in this movie for me.
I've seen him in person one time. One of the first movies I ever worked on, we were shooting in the Hollywood Hills, and he drove by and had his window rolled down. And I was just like, oh, shit, it's Clooney. And that...
So those were our movies we watched this week, and now we can get into our holiday theme of the month.
Yes, back into it, back in the swing.
We are the second week into it, and I believe you go first.
I believe you are correct, because you went first last week.
Oh, look at that.
Yes, and what a fun episode last week was.
It was.
So
I
much
had a
fun.
great time.
I think we'll have a good time today, too, especially discussing this movie, which is one of my favorites. I actually did see this movie in theaters when it came out in 2006. I saw it with my mother, actually. We both were like, what are we going to go see today? We decided on The Holiday because I was a big fan of the cast, and I really liked the writer and director. And if those of you that listen to us were listening to our last week's episode, you would know that this is actually the movie from 2006, written and directed by Nancy Meyers, starring Jude Law, Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, and Kate Winslet, and Eli Wallach. This movie is called The Holiday, everybody.
Yay!
Yay, The Holiday! And V had never seen it before.
No, and it now officially has a brand new big fan.
Yay! I'm so glad to hear that. I was watching it the other night, and I was thinking, and I always think this when watching one of my picks about you because of, the fact that we do have veto power on each other, and sometimes we might just slash a movie that we really cannot fathom discussing in any way, in any positive way or negative way.
Yes.
So
and
I'm glad that you like this one a lot.
Me too. And for our listeners, what he means by that is when we have movie picks, we plan it out, and then when we are watching each other's movies, we do have veto power where one of us will text the other and be like, dude, I know I'd never seen this movie before and you picked it, but goddamn, I can't even make it through a half an hour. I loathe this movie. I have to veto it because we can't talk about it on the show. And it's only happened a couple times.
It has, yes.
But
I think we both have hit each other twice now, though.
We have both hit each other twice, and so now, we discussed it last week, and now, moving forward, whoever vetoes owes the other one a conciliatory drink.
Yes, indeed. Which is a great way to go about it.
Yes, it eases the pain, I think.
I think so, too.
The sting
yes,
of
because
rejection.
sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, because we might like the pick that we chose, and then vice versa does not like the pick we chose. But it happens.
It happens.
So I'm glad you like The Holiday. Yes.
But we can disagree on a movie, so that's definitely not the issue.
Definitely.
We have disagreed on movies on this show already. It's more of I can't even make it through this movie because I hate it so much.
Yes, indeed. And maybe we should do an episode on those movies. Just like do a recap of movies that we vetoed from each other.
Rejection episode.
That could be pretty good.
That could be fun. Maybe we can do a year-end wrap, and part of that can be, hey, these are the movies we fucking hated this year. Give them a shot.
I like that idea, actually. This was V's choice that John vetoed. This was John's choice that V vetoed.
Yes.
Give them a shot if you want, and let us know if you could make it through it.
Yes.
There you go, everybody.
All
yes.
right, we're adding to the podcast.
All right. So moving along with The Holiday,
which
for those
is
of you
not in that category.
It is not in that category at all, thankfully. If you have not seen The Holiday, it's a very, very simple story. Two young women on separate sides of the world are going through a bit of turmoil. First, we meet Miles first. He's scoring a movie, which is really cool. I like how the movie is introduced. And then there's a bit of a narration from this British voice played by Kate Winslet. She plays a character named Iris. She is head over heels in love with this man in her life. His name is Jasper, and he's played by Rufus Sewell. And for those of you that listen to the podcast, know Rufus Sewell's discussed at length when we did our A Knight's Tale episode. So there's already that animosity that we hold over Rufus Sewell as being a villain. Sorry, sir, if you ever listen to this podcast, I'm sure you're a great guy. But at the same time,
good at being a dick.
You really are. You're fantastic at being the unlikable person.
Uh-huh.
So Iris is telling us about different versions of love and how love fades in relationships, and how some people, continue on loving their spouse beyond death. And there's a thing called unrequited love, where one person, it's a one-sided affair where one person's in love with the other and the other is really not in love with that person at all. And that's the string along type quote unquote friend. And I think everybody in the world has been on that side of love. However you want to think and feel about love, everybody thinks and feels about it differently. I'm sure that everybody can relate to Iris in this situation. And not only can we relate to Iris, we can relate to Amanda, who's played by Cameron Diaz. Cameron Diaz is going through a bit of turmoil as well. We meet her in Los Angeles. We meet Iris in London. And then we meet Graham later on, who's played by Jude Law. And basically what's going on with Iris and Amanda is they want to get away for the holidays. They want to get away and kind of forget, this boy trouble that they're in, and they decide to swap houses for the Christmas holiday. And so Iris flies to L.A., Amanda flies to London, and they stay in each other's houses. And this ended up apparently being a big thing for a while, and it might still be. I think that's kind of in a way what Airbnb is. All of these four characters become intertwined with each other, and there's beyond wonderful moments from beginning to end in The Holiday. I have been a big fan of it since I saw it in theaters. So both of these women are on the path to forgetting what's going on in their lives. They're trying to not necessarily restart. They're just trying to recharge their batteries. They're getting over things. And at one point, Iris sends an email to Jasper because he's just continually staying in touch with her. Like, I've got a book coming up. I might need your help. I got this. I got that. Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And she, when we meet Iris, she's gotten him a Christmas present. He says he got her one, but he doesn't know where it is. It's just like, come on, dude. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
You're stringing this poor woman along, and it reminds me of a later episode of How I Met Your Mother where Ted is being strung along by a girl, and every time he says, "Oh, I'd love to be with you," she goes, "Oh, I'd love to be with you, but we can be together, just not right now." And it was just the one thing I like about The Holiday is that every character is completely and 100% relatable. Like there's nothing inauthentic about any of these people that are on screen. They all are. And it almost feels like this is kind of who they are. It doesn't feel like we're watching acting happen. It's just the authenticity of this movie just really makes me very happy and excited and I usually watch this movie once or twice a year because it's a very easy watch. It's a very fun watch. The music is fantastic. I mean, we have Hans Zimmer at the helm of the score for this movie, which is great. And I really like the cast a lot in this movie. And like I said before, I'm a big Nancy Meyers fan. For those that don't know who Nancy Meyer is, she's been around quite a while. She wrote The Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride Part 2 starring Steve Martin and Diane Keaton. She wrote a movie called Protocol with Goldie Hawn. She wrote a movie called Private Benjamin starring Goldie Hawn as well. Her most recent film was The Intern with Robert De Niro and Anne Hathaway. She wrote and directed that. She wrote and directed It's Complicated. She wrote and directed this. She wrote and directed Something's Gotta Give. So she's definitely been around, and she's just a fantastic writer and a fantastic director. I really enjoy watching her movies.
Yes, absolutely. And didn't she do What Women Want as well?
She did. Yes, she did indeed. Yeah. So again, great resume of movies from Nancy Meyers. And so going back to The Holiday a little bit while discussing Iris and Miles and Graham and Amanda, there's also another character introduced to this movie, and this character is Arthur, and he's played by Eli Wallach. And for those that don't know who Eli Wallach is, he's an absolute legend of over 170 credits in the entertainment industry. He was 90 years old when he shot this movie. And his character is just spectacular. He's one of those old Hollywood writers that we learn his story in a very sweet way. It's not like it's forced on anything. And that's another thing too about The Holiday is none of this feels forced. There's like one or two moments in the movie that it feels the least authentic for me.
Feels a little Hollywood.
Yes, definitely. And again, that's a romantic comedy for you. That you're going to get that either way because there's a lot of people that love that aspect of romantic comedy. And the one thing that I like about this and I like about You've Got Mail and I like about other romantic comedies is that there's just a lot of authenticity that really, seeps through the screen from these characters. And the cool thing about this cast was this movie was actually written with all four of these actors in mind.
Nice.
So the fact, that they're all in it together is great. And what a cool casting, two awesome Brits and two awesome Americans. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love the casting in this movie.
Yeah, and we've had Cameron Diaz in a romantic comedy before. We've had Kate Winslet in, dramas and very few comedies. Jude Law definitely in almost all genres. I don't think he's been in any horror movies, but he's definitely been in some great romantic comedies and some great dramas as well. But the fact that I remember Jack Black was one of the other leading reasons for me to go see this movie. I was like, I got to see Jack Black. Myself included, I don't think we had seen Jack Black in a romantic comedy yet. So it was, curious to see like where it was going to go with him and what his character was going to do. And his character is a lot of fun too. Kind of like Arthur, Miles is in the entertainment industry. He is a composer, and he is quite a talented composer. And for those of you that do know who Jack Black is, he is a monumental talent. I mean, there's definitely, he's classically trained. I think he went to USC, a drama school, or the Dramatic Academy over there. And just about everything that he's in, you can tell he puts his whole heart into. And I really like that about Jack Black. A lot of people used to write him off, because of Tenacious D and his stoner comedy, which of course is absolutely fantastic. But he's great in a movie called Bernie, which is on my list coming up. He's great in dramatic roles. I mean, we talked about him in Enemy of the State. He was in that as well. So he's definitely been around. I mean, we can't forget him in Mars Attacks either, everybody. Come on now. He's been around for a while, and he's great. And, it's really cool the way that Miles and Iris meet and become friends, because Miles is trying to pick something up from Amanda, and I didn't get into what Amanda's character does. She is actually a female trailer editor, and for those that don't know what that is, her character cuts movie trailers together. And I love that aspect about her character because I used to do that for a living. Yeah. So I know exactly what she's going through when she's talking about the problem. And there's one line that she says, "Oh, we need a Christmas red, not a Scorsese red for the banner." And I'm just like,
perfect.
That's great. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, she said that because she did Gangs of New York with Scorsese." And it's like, yeah, maybe that was an improvised line. Maybe that was written. From what I've heard, the cool thing about Nancy Meyers is from, what you see on screen is on the page. So it's okay. All, not necessarily like she's like, you have to say it this way. And that's the one thing about Nancy Meyers that's amazing too, is I've seen in the behind the scenes of Nancy Meyers movies where she is, she definitely gives some notes. She gets in there, she sinks her teeth into the character, but she really does allow a lot of freedom for the actor to have fun with it. And you can tell that that's what everybody in this movie was doing.
Absolutely. I loved every character in this movie. Of course, it's, this setup where it's like, oh, well, these are really gorgeous, pretty well-off people trying to get over broken hearts. And you're like, of course, things are going to go right for them. But at the same time, Kate Winslet arriving in LA and meeting Miles, Jack Black's character, was really lovely. And I absolutely adore the video rental scene.
Oh, the video rental scene's amazing.
Have you seen this?
Chariots of Fire, loved it.
Cling, 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 cling. Dun, 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 dun. Such a great score by Vangelis. He took electronic scores to a new level. It was groundbreaking. I'm going to test you on this later. Okay, Driving Miss Daisy, Hans. Very unexpected. Do you remember how great it was? Roodle-dee-doo, scroodle-dee-doo. Root-and-dee-doo, that's sassy. Love it. Is this a bad game?
No.
Okay.
Keep going.
Sometimes I get self-conscious about my ra-da-da-da and scraddle-da. Are you embarrassed by this game I've started to play? Okay. It's not elaborate. I can go loud. Ba-dum. 2 notes, and you've got a villain. I don't know what to say about it. Totally brill.
Yes, Miles, like I said earlier, is a composer for Hollywood feature films, and he just loves composers. And why wouldn't you if that's what your living is? It's because
we love them.
I was gonna say, yeah, we love scores, and I mentioned earlier Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie, and what a great score for the holiday. I mean, every note in this movie is so sweet. Like there's no. Like, I don't know how to put it, because a lot of rom-coms have that like bouncy, kind of feel to them with the soundtrack. This one had like that really warm at home. Yeah, but like you're comfortable. It's a very comfortable soundtrack. I think that's a good way to put it.
This felt like a very polished movie. The music was polished. The acting was tight. The script is very well done. There's no extra, little pieces that you're like, oh, they could have edited that out or anything. Like this movie,
right.
from beginning to end, is created very nicely.
Oh yeah, it's very agreed indeed. Yes, and that's the other thing. We can give Nancy Meyers that round of applause. She's a master of what she does, and
Yes.
she really gets the emotions across. And I really like that because not only are you laughing and at the same time like just wanting to give all of them a big hug. You just even Arthur, just like, oh, come here, dude. Like,
Oh,
like
yes.
Eli Wallach was so good in this movie, and the stories that he told were, of course they were written for the movie, but at the same time, I just love the way his character tells her how he got into the entertainment industry. The way that Arthur and Iris meet is quite wonderful as well, because you always hear those stories where like an old man might, with unfortunate memory loss, might be kind of walking off or like getting lost or something like that. And oddly enough, that's how Iris meets Arthur in this movie. He's walking down the street in this very gorgeous Beverly Hills neighborhood where Amanda lives, where Iris is now staying because of the house swap. So she offers him a ride home, and he says to her, "Do you know where I live?" And she says, "I think I do." He goes, "Well, that makes one of us."
He's so great.
It's so awesome. And he starts telling her, he's like, "I've lived on this street for 47 years, and they've just added so many different houses that look so similar. That's why I got confused." And then he says, "Well, I enjoyed our meet cute." And she goes, "Oh, what's a meet cute?" He goes, "Oh, a meet cute is in a movie when two people meet."
Well, this was some meet cute.
Sorry?
It's how two characters meet in a movie. Say a man and a woman both need something to sleep in.
Uh-huh.
And they both go to the same men's pajama department.
Right.
And the man says to the salesman, "I just need bottoms." The woman says, "I just need a top." They look at each other, and that's the meet cute.
Oh, I see.
Of course, this isn't quite that cute, but
And that meet cute story that he tells her is actually based off of a movie with Gary Cooper and Claudette Colbert called Bluebeard's Eighth Wife. And so she's like, "Oh, well, that's a very nice story." And he goes, "What part of England are you from?" She goes, "Oh, Surrey." He goes, "Cary Grant was from Surrey." And she goes, "How did you know that?" He goes, "Oh, he told me once." And I remember the first time that I saw this movie, I'm just like, "Oh, what an old liar." I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, he's old, he's confused, he probably watches a lot of old movies, and, by this time he's thinking that the TV's talking to him. No offense to the elder community, but, that's kind of what does start to happen. So I'm thinking when I first see this movie, okay, bullshit, old man. And then he gets her into the house, and then there's an Oscar statue sitting in his living room. And then you find out that he was this writer for Hollywood that, spent the last 40 years pumping out scripts for romantic comedies and dramas and all this stuff. And I love his character so much. And the fact that she got Eli Wallach, who was 90 at the time, like I had said earlier, he was in Hollywood for at least 60 years.
Yeah.
Like, the guy was around for a long time. He's in a lot of old westerns, which, V, I'm not sure if you've seen. I'm sure you've seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Oh, yeah.
He's in that one. He's in several other ones, too, that I have never seen. So, at some point, I'm sure I'm going to go back and check them out, because as more of an homage to the guy, because he did pass away in 2014. He was 98 years old when he ended up passing away. Yeah, and I mean, you could just tell that he loved what he did. And when watching the making of The Holiday, that's all anybody said when Eli Wallach was brought up. They're like, "Oh, he was telling us stories from 1952," and you're just like, "My God." That's just, how incredible would that, Tinseltown, and just so awesome.
And I love Kate Winslet walking into his house and going, "Oh shit," when she saw all of those scripts, and then of course the Oscar, and I was
The
like,
Oscar,
"Oh yeah,
yep.
Kate Winslet's got a couple of those now."
Yes, she does. Absolutely.
And this movie has a ton of heart, but Eli Wallach is the soul of this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Big time. Such a great character. And like you said, it has a lot of heart, and that's going back to the authenticity of it all. There's said it before, every job that they have is a feasible job. It's not some job that's extravagant, like these Hallmark movies like you to make you to think. And granted, not everybody's a trailer editor, not everybody's a composer, but everybody to an extent is an artist of some kind. So you have that kind of working for you as something to also relate to. Not only has everybody experienced something that everybody in this movie is experiencing, you you're an artist yourself because you're all trying to create and you're all trying to leave your mark, kind of like we mentioned when we were discussing Soul. You want to be remembered for something. And that's the one cool thing about Miles is he's like that video store that you mentioned. He's singing all these melodies of all these different soundtracks that he loves, and he talks about Ennio Morricone quite a bit. And Ennio Morricone has written some of the most famous scores of all time, and he most recently won the Oscar for doing Tarantino's The Hateful Eight, which is a killer soundtrack. And you can't go wrong with Ennio Morricone.
You can't, though, yes, as you said, he is a legend in the film industry, and it's similar to Martin Scorsese finally winning the Oscar for The Departed, right? Not his best work, of course, but definitely well-deserved over the career that he had. And so, yeah, when
Absolutely.
Jack Black mentioned him, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so great that you mentioned him.
No. And Ennio Morricone actually did also pass away just very recently in 2020. He was 91 years old. And that is just what a legacy to leave behind. It's just kind of like when James Horner passed away. For those that may not remember James Horner, he did the score for Titanic and Braveheart, and I mean just score after score. And Hans Zimmer again, great score for this movie. Great locations too. You can't go wrong with Beverly Hills at all. I've definitely loved doing my fair share of driving down Rodeo Drive and through the neighborhoods and seeing, especially during Christmas. I got to be honest, Beverly Hills is a wonderland during Christmas. It's quite amazing, and I really like the location that Iris gets to go to because it's completely and vastly different from her little cottage. Very similarly to What Lies Beneath, the houses that were used in this film, the interiors were done on sound stages.
Oh, bummer.
I know. It is a bit of a bummer.
I loved both houses. I would have reacted the exact same way that Iris did when she rolled up to that just mansion.
Oh, absolutely. I love that entire sequence.
She goes in the house and she's exploring every room. She's like, oh my god. She's running around like, I would have done the same thing.
Oh yeah. And Amanda's got that home theater that's just like makes my mouth just
drool.
I drool every time. Yes. And I'm always trying to read the movies that are up there, like what movies does Amanda have? Does she have some of the same movies that I have? I'm always curious about that in movies, like when you see somebody's movie collection in a movie, like in Hot Fuzz, we see a movie collection and I always pause it to try and find and see if one of that character has the same movies that I do, just to be like, yeah, I have those movies too. That movie is in that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's so funny because when I was looking at that collection of movies as well, and she was trying to pick which one, I was like, I bet you all of these movies were produced by the production company that made this movie.
That is also very likely. Indeed. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, but why not? A little shameless product placement.
Of course,
is never terrible.
And I really love how, yes, these people are gorgeous. Yes, these people are quite well off. But they're, like you said, they're very relatable. They also are very mature in a lot of ways about...
Yes.
This is a more adult rom-com.
That's a good point.
Oh, I'm just we're going to fall in love and everything's going to work out. Like, they were very realistic people. They were getting over things that all of us have dealt with. One is getting over their partner cheating on them. The other is getting over, like you said, unrequited love. And their approach to that definitely became more and more mature. I loved Kate Winslet's conversations about getting over this and how it makes her feel when love isn't returned. And it's very realistic. It's not this Disney love. It's like, wow, I can really see myself. I've gone through this before, or I need to remind myself these things. And the empowerment that these women start to feel as they have this character growth is just so beautiful. And I just loved how realistic it all was.
Absolutely. Yeah. The authenticity. We've mentioned it many times before with some of our other picks. And just like when we talked about When Harry Met Sally, the authenticity there, it's here too, and Nora Ephron did a great job and Nancy Meyers has and will continue to likely do a good job. I think the only movie I'm not a big fan of is It's Complicated. There was something just off about that one for me, but I really liked The Intern. I love Something's Gotta Give with Jack Nicholson and Diane Keaton. I think that movie is excellent. And again, I picked this one because not only is it set in Christmas, it really just warms me up every time I watch it. And my wife and I love to watch it together. And it was one of those movies that I was so excited that she liked, because like, oh, good, another movie that we can watch together.
Yeah.
Because I just love watching movies with my wife. So for those that have been with us from the beginning know that I had a movie early on called A Lifeless Ordinary starring Cameron Diaz, and that was right after she had done The Mask. And then from there, she did Something About Mary, and then she did Charlie's Angels, and then she did, and then she did, and then she did. And just about every movie is great. I even like that movie The Sweetest Thing with her and Leslie Mann. I think that movie's hysterical. My wife had it on at one point, and I sat and watched it with her, and I thought it was very entertaining. Kate Winslet, for those that don't know, I'm sure you do. Titanic, Quills, The Reader, Oscar winner for The Reader. She was in Finding Neverland. She was... she's been in movies for the last 3 decades, and she's always fantastic. Jude Law, for those that may not know, Jude Law used to get a lot of flack back in the day, like early 2000s. A lot of people would be like, why Jude Law? I've always liked Jude Law.
He was the go-to cutie in Hollywood for a while. He was,
and it worked.
Yeah,
there was
he was
nothing wrong with that.
Sexiest man alive one year.
Right. Yeah, of course he was. But, I went and saw Alfie in theaters because I was like, oh, Jude Law. I like Jude Law. He's in The Aviator. He's now Dumbledore in the new spin-off of the Harry Potter movies, which I actually liked that new one, The Secrets of Dumbledore. I thought that was pretty good. Amy and I saw that in theaters. That was a good one.
The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Oh, yeah, Talented Mr. Ripley, Enemy at the Gates.
Loved him in Gattaca.
Gattaca, yep. He's also in Cold Mountain, which is another favorite movie of mine, but yet the accents are likely going to be a problem for V, so I'm not going to have her sit through that one. And then we got Jack Black. Jack Black has definitely made a resurgence from his earlier years. He's definitely a bankable star now with the Jumanji movies. I liked the first Jumanji. I did not like the second one very much. Actually,
Agreed.
did not finish the second Jumanji.
Oh, well, I finished it. I saw it in theaters.
Oh, okay.
It's not terrible. It's a bit forgettable, but goddamn, the first one is incredible.
First one was awesome. The first one was definitely good.
And he was my favorite part of that whole fucking movie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I love
100%.
Jack Black. He is a talent. Like you said, Tenacious D, his band. Oh, my God. I was so happy to see him in this movie. I love him.
I have had the pleasure of standing next to him at Amoeba Music in Hollywood. I did not speak to him.
All places, Amoeba Music.
Yep.
What a perfect location for Jack Black.
I did not say hi to him because I had read at one point that if he's that he doesn't like people approaching him if he's out with his kids.
Oh, that's fair.
And
I mean, that should be a rule in our culture, honestly.
Oh, I completely agree.
If somebody famous is out with their kids, leave them the fuck alone.
Leave them alone. Leave them alone. Yeah. And, I completely respect that. I was looking through the vinyls of Aerosmith at the time, and I hear this voice behind me, and I'm like, that's fucking Jack Black. And I turn around, and it's Jack Black, and I was like, oh, shit. And he had a dragon shirt on,
of
like
course.
a typical, Jack Black style. And I've had the entertainment pleasure of seeing Tenacious D live. It was right around when the Pick of Destiny came out.
Nice.
They were on tour, and my buddies and I got tickets, and we got absolutely bombed stoned and went to the show. And it is still one of the greatest shows I've ever seen because... yeah, Jack Black, I mean, hearing him sing live is fucking spectacular. If you've ever heard him sing on a record, it's great. Live is so much better.
Wow.
He is awesome.
And his mother was a brilliant NASA scientist.
Is that right?
She's an incredible person in her own right. He is the
No
more
way.
famous one,
Oh
but
my
her
gosh.
contributions to our society are not to be missed. Please look up
Wow.
Jack Black's mother.
I'm gonna
when
have
you get
to.
a chance. It's awesome.
That is, wow, definitely going to have to do that because I am a NASA fan. So that's pretty much the holiday. I've got a little bit of trivia to kind of drop on you, even though I kind of dropped it throughout the conversation. There was another piece of trivia that I found fascinating also. So I think it really worked for the performances. Kate Winslet and Rufus Sewell were once romantically involved, and that kind of made me really think, wow, this really works then, like in a strange way. No, not really. Yeah, maybe she did, or maybe it was the other way around.
Or maybe
Who
it was
knows?
the other way around, yeah.
Yeah, you never know. But still, I thought that was fascinating.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I just in a weird way, that's Hollywood for you though.
Yeah.
when in the behind the cameras, when like somebody like myself or V, breaks up with a spouse or broke up with a spouse back in the day, it wasn't like we were going to be running into them on set or anything like that. I didn't really date too much on set, but I definitely did date on set.
You did.
That was
You did.
that kind of got a little weird, but that's
This is
neither
why
here
you
nor
don't
there.
date where you work, man. That was my
Exactly.
hard and fast rule on set and in every other job I've ever had. Do not date where you
most
work.
definitely. Not at all. Not a good idea. No.
And this movie, not only is it authentic and has a lot of heart, it's funny.
It's so funny.
Really funny. Kate Winslet is really funny in this movie.
Super good.
At the very beginning when she's like, oh, this is really a low point for me, I was laughing so hard. And then in the second half of the movie, when there's that phone call, and it totally reminded me of the When Harry Met Sally phone call in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
God, I was laughing through that whole scene. It was so well put together. I was so happy.
Oh, yeah. No, it really is from beginning to end very funny. Even though, during the turmoil that the ladies are going through, it's not supposed to be funny, but it is funny. It's kind of like that Fargo effect where should you laugh at this? But yes, I can laugh because I've been there sort of a situation.
Exactly.
I love when Iris's friend's like, are you still doing his laundry? She goes, I never did his laundry. Did somebody tell you I did his laundry? It's like, oh, poor thing.
So
poor
sad.
thing. Yeah. Another actor that's in this movie that actually is also in A Knight's Tale, Shannon Sossaman. She is in it.
She is. I noticed
her
that.
and Miles kind of hang out for a few minutes, which I thought was pretty cool. So two A Knight's Tale people, and just for good measure, David Bowie people, because Shannon Sossaman's character danced in the David Bowie scene, and Rufus Sewell's character in A Knight's Tale kind of ignited the David Bowie scene in A Knight's Tale, David Bowie, one more time. Cool. Another cool thing that I like about The Holiday also is that Amanda is a trailer editor, like we mentioned before. So there's moments in her life in this movie where she's feeling really down again, and then all of a sudden she hears that trailer voice. And I think that is one of the greatest little tidbits of The Holidays, like, Amanda Woods, welcome back, or Amanda Woods was feeling down. And that is one of the most famous trailer voice actors named Hal Douglas. He had been around and doing trailer voices and being a voice actor for decades, and he unfortunately passed away in 2014 at the age of 89 years old. And that is, what a career. You will be forever on all old DVDs and VHS tapes. The Holiday was released on November 29th of 2006, which was right after Thanksgiving, so definitely a good time to be released. The budget was $85 million.
Holy shit.
$85 million. It was the 12th highest grossing film helmed by a female director of the 2000s. The worldwide gross was $205.8 million. So it definitely did a great job. The other movies released in November of 2006 were Santa Claus 3, Infamous, which is the movie about Truman Capote with Toby Jones, Stranger Than Fiction, Happy Feet, Casino Royale, Deck the Halls, and Tenacious D, Pick of Destiny.
Nice.
And Deja Vu with Denzel Washington. The Holiday had some competition, but it still did pretty well. And Nancy Meyers is considered one of the highest grossing female directors of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that. So Nancy Meyers definitely has a special place in my heart. I love The Holiday. I'm so glad that you also enjoyed it very much. It is hopefully in your rotation now for every December, as it is in mine. And my mom, again, is a big fan of it because we saw it together, and I think that might be a reason why I also like it, because my mom liked it, and it's just a great movie. So that's The Holiday. So if you do want to watch The Holiday, apparently you can only watch it on Hulu Live TV add-on, which was how V watched it. I watched my DVD copy, which is in all honesty my mother's DVD copy. She just gave it to me because she said she didn't watch it enough to keep it. So I took it, and like I said, watch it every year with my wife. We're big fans.
Yeah, I watched it because I have access to DirecTV, and so I was able to stream it through TBS, the channel that's part of the cable package. So if any of you have TBS through live TV add-ons or cable packages, you can absolutely stream it there, or you can just rent it.
Nice. Definitely worth the rent.
It is one of my favorite movies that you've introduced me to so far in our podcast.
Wonderful.
I love this movie. I will absolutely watch it again. I don't have a big tradition of watching either horror movies over the month of October or Christmas movies over the month of December. I only watch one Christmas movie as a tradition with my family every year, and that's Christmas Vacation. But I might need to start a new tradition for myself because I want to watch this movie again next December.
Excellent. Love to hear it. So glad.
Yes, so happy to have gotten the chance to watch this movie and be introduced to it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I'm so glad to introduce you to stuff that you enjoy. But I think we're ready to jump into yours, V. What do you think?
I think so too. Mine is
All right.
certainly not realistic.
No, it's not.
It is a bit of a turn from the holiday, but it is a holiday classic, which is why I picked it. It is a sequel, and it is the better of the two movies, which is why I picked this one. I am talking about the 90s classic Home Alone 2.
Lost in New York.
Lost in New York.
I love this movie so much.
It makes me laugh every time.
Every time.
It's the kind of slapstick comedy that I enjoy. It is
Oh, yes.
so funny. It is, of course, a worldwide phenomenon, which is why they made a sequel. For anyone who hasn't seen it or doesn't know what I'm talking about, it came out in 1992. It was the sequel to the original, which came out in 1990. And it is it's a bit formulaic. I mean, the same thing happens in both movies. The plot is basically that this boy, Kevin, who is played by Macaulay Culkin, is the youngest of 5 children. And his parents every year take a trip somewhere. His parents are quite well off. They live in a huge brick mansion outside of Chicago. And I've actually seen this house in real life, as well as Ferris Bueller's house. Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. I've never been to
mine-
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago's great. And a buddy of mine grew up in a very nice suburb of Chicago. And when I visited him when we were in college together, he took me around because he knew how much I was into movies. And so he took me around different places in Chicago and outside of Chicago that were kind of film locations.
That is awesome. That's a good friend. I like that a lot.
Yeah, that was a really good friend thing to do because, it was kind of customized to my interests, which I thought was really thoughtful. And so, yes, he has a well-off family. Every year they go on holiday. And this young boy, Kevin, he's 8 in the first movie, he's 10 in the second movie. He's being a little bit of a shit, but honestly, watching this as an adult, it's a really just toxic family dynamic.
Yeah, it really is. I did the double feature, and even in
Me
the first
too.
one, I'm like, my God, they really do shit on him.
They do, yeah. And
Of course, that's kind of written that way,
It's written
but at
that
the
way.
same time,
Yeah, exactly. You can understand why this kid is lashing out because
Absolutely.
of the family dynamic that is toxic, and as a lot of us know, family dynamics are hard to break, so which is why you
Yes,
get a second
indeed.
movie. And so he gets sent to a room the night before they're traveling in the first one, and he's up in the loft attic room, and they are in a rush in the morning because the power goes out and they miss their alarm clock, and they basically forget him in the first movie. And so the first movie, he's home alone, which is the title of the movie, of course. And in the second movie, he actually makes it on the trip with his family. He makes it to the airport, and he gets lost in the airport and unfortunately boards the wrong plane and ends up going to New York while his family goes to Florida. Now, the thing about these movies is that there is a pair of burglars. In the first movie, they are casing this boy Kevin's neighborhood, and he encounters them in his own home and defends his home in a very hilarious way. And in the second movie, these two burglars, played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, escape prison and end up sneaking over to New York, where Kevin ends up, and they run into each other.
so fucking funny.
And so Kevin has to defend himself in New York in very similar ways from these two bandits. And like I said, it's a little formulaic, but the reason why Home Alone 2 is better and works better, I think, is because the storyline is a bit bigger. It's a bit more expansive. There's more subplots to it.
Yes.
And it's a little less of a straightforward movie like the first one is. The story is just richer, and there's better supporting characters, and there's more of them. And God, the jokes are so funny. And like I said, the slapstick comedy is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And it's bigger as well. And so that's the reason why I like this second movie better than the first. I did do a double feature too.
Oh, I'm glad.
Which was very fun.
I knew you would. Yeah.
Oh, of course, right? And so, yeah, it's like I said, formulaic but great. There's so many supporting actors in this movie. And
every time I watch it,
I was like, oh shit, that's right.
I'm watching the credits and I'm like, oh yeah, Oh yeah. It was, and I guess I hadn't watched this one since like last Christmas because it's not one that absolutely like the holiday has to be watched during Christmas. You can watch this any time of year and it's still going to be hilarious. I'm really glad you chose it because, like you said, it is laugh out loud hysterical. And even the first one, I was I think like almost halfway through the first one, I look at my wife and I'm like, I am still laughing, and this movie is 32 years old. Mm-hmm. You know, and that just tells you something. That just stands the test of time. You know, it's just so fucking funny.
It is. I will say I laughed more in the second one, though, which is one of the reasons why, again, like I said, I chose the second one instead. In both movies, Uncle Frank is a prick.
Oh my God, such a douche.
So Kevin's family travels with his dad's brother's family as well. So there's like 15 people in these travel plans, which is why Kevin gets lost both times. But he is such an angry cheapskate prick in both movies. Yeah. And there's actually a scene that was cut from the second movie that unfortunately has never seen the light of day. I wish it would. But Kevin's parents finally tell Frank to shut the hell up and chastise him for being such a prick. And I was like, God, I wish they included it, because I wish someone had said something. Because, he's talking to an 8-year-old and yelling at him and calling him names. I'm like, dude, the kid is 8. What kind of person are you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. That's like still I think I finally realized like what Kevin says to Uncle Frank in the second one, maybe like 8 years ago when I watched it again.
He calls him a cheapskate.
Oh, my God. He's like, your dad's shelling out good money for this trip. You better not ruin it for me. Oh, I don't want to spoil your fun, you cheapskate. I was like, holy shit. Hell yeah, man. Like, I would have, like, if I were in the theater, I probably would have round of applause that moment. You know, I still kind of just, it is so funny. And it's so true, because that's all I'm thinking about anytime I see Uncle Frank on the TV. You're just like, oh, I don't like this
asshole.
Dude.
What an asshole.
And of course, like, that's, you know, like, he's probably only will ever be remembered for that character. Maybe in my eyes only, because I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else.
Oh, same. He has been in several other things, including The Bodyguard and a Michael J. Fox movie called The Secret of My Success. His name is Jerry Bannon. He was in a bunch of movies in the 80s and 90s, but yes, he's most recognizable from Home Alone series. And some other great, as we said, a lot of great actors in this movie. First of all, Macaulay Culkin. He became one of the most famous child stars in history when Home Alone came out in 1990. He was also in My Girl, The Good Son, which is actually a very good movie.
I never saw The Good Son, actually. I always wanted to as a kid, because I was like, oh, I like Home Alone.
Oh, it's creepy. It's very good. I think you should watch it now that you're an adult. And Macaulay Culkin's father actually made the studio promise that they would have Macaulay in The Good Son to make sure he wasn't being typecast, because it's a very different role for him.
Oh, cool.
Because Macaulay Culkin's father was his manager at the time, and he very famously not only quit acting, but also got emancipated from his parents who were managing him in his career, and was a pretty big tyrant about it. And he's come out and said that his father was physically and verbally abusive to his children, and kind of a piece of shit, which is unfortunate. And
yeah, that is.
Several of his siblings also were pushed into acting by his father, including Kieran Culkin, who is little cousin Fuller in both movies, who is now very well known for being the middle child in Succession, if anybody watches that show.
I have never seen it. I hear it's great.
Oh, it's great. It's fucked up, but great.
Yeah.
And Kevin's nemesis, the Wet Bandits, in these movies.
Yes.
And then they're the Sticky Bandits in the second.
The Sticky Bandits.
Are played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Now, Daniel Stern is known for City Slickers as well, and a couple other bit parts. But Joe Pesci, I think most of us would recognize. And I want to tell you his credits from the 90s in order, just so you can be in awe of this man like I am.
Joe Pesci?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Goodfellas came out in 1990.
Yep.
And then Home Alone came out in November of 1990. Same year.
Yeah.
Then he was in JFK, My Cousin Vinny, Lethal Weapon 3, then Home Alone 2, A Bronx Tale, and then Casino. And that was his 90s.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah, because he kind of fell off after Casino.
A little bit.
Or stopped acting.
Yeah,
for a little while.
He's been acting sporadically since then, but The choices he made for scripts in the 90s.
Yeah, they're all great. I actually still have not seen My Cousin Vinny, though.
What?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
It's immediately on my list. I love that movie so much.
That is
I
one
adore
I've never seen.
Marissa Tomei so much. Oh my God. She
Yeah, a lot of
deserved the
people like
Oscar.
that one.
It's so good. It holds up. It's on my list. That's amazing.
All right. I
Okay,
gotta
so I'm
check it
going to
out.
introduce you to My Cousin Vinny.
Perfect. I have definitely seen Goodfellas a million times.
Of
I
course.
love that movie. I have Casino on 4K, and that is one hell of a transfer, and that movie is fantastic. I do love Casino. A lot of people are like, oh, it's really boring. It's too long.
What?
No and no.
Who the
It's
fuck has ever said Casino's boring?
people that I don't talk to anymore.
Clearly, because you don't want that kind of negativity in your life.
I really don't. Not at all. No. Both great movies. Both Scorsese masterpieces.
And I just love the range that Joe Pesci had in the 90s.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Definitely a great comedic actor. And they always say like a lot of comedic actors are great dramatic actors. Well, a lot of dramatic actors are great comedic actors too.
Yeah.
So it really works out. And like a case in point, Jack Black in the last film. Granted, it's a comedy, but it's on the romantic spectrum, and it's something that he hadn't done before.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yes, love Joe Pesci, love a lot of things that he does, and love 90s Joe Pesci especially.
Absolutely.
And then in both films, Catherine O'Hara plays Macaulay
yes.
Culkin's mom.
She's so good every time.
So good every time. She was the mother in Beetlejuice.
Yes.
I hate that movie.
Do you really?
I do not like that movie at all. I do not find it funny. I find it extremely cringy, also creepy.
Fascinating.
I know
it's
a lot
creepy.
of people love that movie. It's creepy in like a gross way, not like, ooh, this is like I said, The Menu, the movie I just saw, is creepy.
Yeah.
That's like creepy in a actual creepy way.
Gotcha.
Beetlejuice is creepy in like a gross way. Like, oh yeah, this guy is disgusting.
Yeah, Beetlejuice is gross. I've seen it a few times. I don't not like it. I mean, I like the movie fine, but it's I don't know. I guess I don't know. I know there's a lot of people that love it, and there's a lot of people that really don't like it.
Yeah. Even though I love
it's
Gina
definitely
Davis.
an acquired taste.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely an acquired taste film.
She's also the voice of Sally in Nightmare Before Christmas. She is the leading lady in Nightmare Before Christmas that a lot of people don't know.
Really?
Right?
Huh.
A lot of people don't know that Catherine O'Hara voices Sally in The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I guess, in a way, she does kind of accentuate her voice a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So there is definitely a difference where she doesn't sound like herself like she does in every other movie. But no, yeah, there's another popular misconception. Maybe people think somebody else does, just like they think Tim Burton directed it. Who knows?
Exactly. And
It's interesting.
speaking of accentuating her voice, she is now back on the scene and very well known for, of course, being Moira Rose in Schitt's Creek.
What a wonderful show Schitt's Creek is.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end. Absolutely. Just hilarious.
Love that show.
So good.
Tim Curry plays the concierge for the Plaza Hotel in New York in this movie.
I love him. I actually did forget for a second that he was in it. So when I saw his name, I was like, that's right. He is in this movie.
Yes. Of course, Rocky Horror Picture Show, The Three Musketeers playing Cardinal Richelieu.
Yes.
He's in Legend, a Tom Cruise movie. And my favorite of his, Clue.
Oh, yes, Clue. Yeah. I like him in Congo.
His accent is hilarious.
Yes, it is. When I was somewhere, he's like, I was excavating somewhere. I found a detailed picture of a little, like, oh man, it's so
bad. It's
bad.
It's like Kate Beckinsale in Van Helsing.
Oh, that's the best worst accent right there. Most definitely best worst.
It is the best worst. That's true. That is true. And then, like I said, there's a ton of supporting actors. Dana Ivey is in this movie. She's in the Addams Family movies as Margaret. She marries Cousin It in Addams Family Values.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she's funny.
She's also Harrison Ford's assistant in the Sabrina remake, which I am a big fan of. A lot of people
I
didn't
like
watch.
that one.
Yeah. And Rob Schneider also makes an appearance in this movie.
Yeah, he's pretty funny in this movie. Very small part, but entertaining enough.
Yes, entertaining enough. And this movie was made by two Hollywood juggernauts.
Oh, yes.
John Hughes wrote both of these movies, and he's also wrote a movie that is coming up for me in a couple weeks. So I'm not going to go over his entire portfolio. So I'm only going to go over some, and then I'll go over more in a couple weeks when our next John Hughes movie pops up. And because he wrote this movie, I will do his writing credits as well.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So he wrote Mr. Mom, 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Pretty in Pink, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Those are some of his classics.
I haven't seen a majority of those.
80s classics, that's okay.
I've been meaning to see Breakfast Club for years. I just have not
I'm
gotten
not a
around
fan
to
of it, to be honest.
No?
It's very cliche. It's not nuanced. Like, a lot of people talk about how it hasn't aged well. I don't even really care about that. I just find it very two-dimensional.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, you can give it a shot just because it is considered a classic.
Yeah.
And Chris Columbus directed both of these movies. And he also, like I said, is a Hollywood heavyweight. Chris Columbus has directed Adventures in Babysitting, Mrs. Doubtfire, Stepmom with Julia Roberts and Susan Sarandon.
Oh, I didn't like that movie. It's got Jenna Malone in it, so that's probably why. Honestly, she ruins every movie. Except for In Her Advice. I thought she was pretty good in that.
Well, that's funny you say that because I've actually encountered Jenna Malone and had a conversation with her, and it was not good at all. She was extremely entitled and a giant brat, and I did not like her immediately because of that encounter. And I'm like, girl, stop being this entitled. You are not an A-lister. Most people don't know who you are. Calm down. And the way she talked to me and a couple other people was really shitty, so I have not been a fan of her since.
Oh wow, yeah, that's happened to me too. You know, it puts a sour taste in your mouth for life.
Yeah, it really does. And again, you know, if you're walking up to someone at a restaurant and they're dining with their kids, that's one thing. But, you know, I was on a job and Jenna Malone was there, and the way she treated me and as well as other people on staff was really shitty. So I'm like, no, you should be nice to people who you're working with or who you're around.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Chris Columbus also directed Rent, Bicentennial Man, and Harry Potter 1 and 2. Getting back to Home Alone 2, some trivia. Filming lasted 149 days.
Oh my goodness.
Which is very long for a movie like this.
Very long. Wow.
Yes.
149 days?
Right?
Damn.
I would have figured this movie was filmed around 60 days.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that is a lot.
Yeah, they filmed in a couple different locations, including New York City. And Chris Columbus recalled that production spent a ton of money on artificial snow for Central Park because it filmed between December and May.
Oh, wow.
And as soon as they had everything set up and the artificial snow in place, New York City had a blizzard.
No way. Of course. That's how it always goes.
That's how it always goes. Exactly.
Wow. That's hilarious.
And in these movies, in the first one and the second one, Kevin watches an old black and white movie that he's not supposed to be watching, right?
Right.
And the first movie is called Angels with Filthy Souls, and that's in Home Alone. And in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, it's called Angels with Even Filthier Souls.
I love that so much.
It's not a real movie. It was filmed separately for these Home Alone movies, which is fantastic. So Chris Columbus actually wrote these little fake movies that were inside the movie itself.
That's so great. And and I love that you only just see those two scenes. It's like, well, what else happens in the movie? Like, we don't know. We get some exposition of both, like what's going down in the movie and why the guy's about to do what he does. But yeah, we don't really know what else is going on.
No good for flushing. I love those scenes are great.
I'm gonna give you to the count of 3 to get your lousy, lying, low-down, four-flushing carcass out my door.
Yeah, those are great. And the Talk Boy, the tape recorder that Kevin played with in the movie, I remember that, and I actually asked for one, and I got one for Christmas.
Did you really?
And I always thought, like, oh, they used this toy as a prop in a movie. How cool. No. It did not exist before Home Alone 2 came out.
Really?
It was a prop created specifically for the movie, and after it became a box office hit, Tiger Electronics created and distributed a real version of the Talk Boy.
That is awesome. Some friends of mine had one, and I always played with it for
Yes,
sure.
it was awesome. And Macaulay Culkin was paid $4.5 million to star in this sequel.
Wow.
The biggest salary ever to an 11-year-old child actor at the time.
Goodness gracious. That's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yes.
Damn.
I like that the phone number given for the Plaza Hotel was the real phone number for the Plaza at the time.
Was it really?
Yeah, and I
Oh,
love
cool.
that. Because you know how in most movies it's like, oh yeah, this is my phone number, 212-555.
555. Yep.
And I like that they used the real number, which was cool. And towards the end of the movie, there is a sequence with a whole lot of pigeons.
Yes, there is.
It was filmed with about 300 real pigeons.
Oh, wow. 300? Damn.
Yes.
It did look like a lot.
It was a lot, yes.
That is a lot.
They were real.
Wow.
And so, as we said, unlike The Holiday, John's pick this week, this is less authentic. This is less realistic. This is less relatable. And Entertainment Weekly once had a real medical doctor analyze the actual effects of the injuries to Harry, Joe Pesci's character, and Marv, Daniel Stern's character, who are the
Yes.
burglars in this movie and the first one. And according to the physician, at best these two would have received brain damage, but most likely death. Which is why my father doesn't like these movies, because he says
Oh, really?
that it's so unrealistic. These criminals having all these things done to them. He's like, oh yeah, they die in 2 seconds. Like
For sure.
the
Yeah.
first scene with Macaulay Culkin defending the house with these guys in the second movie is him throwing bricks at them from the third floor and hitting Marv in the face would have killed him.
Uncontrollable. Oh, my gosh.
Let's
Out
laugh
of control.
so hard during that scene, though. So yes, and that's one of the reasons why I know someone who doesn't like these movies, and it's because he's like, that's just so unrealistic. These guys would be dead already.
They really would. Yeah.
Which is true,
they-
but that's what slapstick comedy is. It's unrealistic.
Exactly. Yeah, it has to be.
And the reason why this movie is so good, in John and I's opinion, is because John Hughes, who wrote the script, said he took the sequel very seriously and wrote multiple drafts of it.
Oh, wow.
He decided New York was a great place to lose Kevin. It's a huge city and he can get into lots of trouble. And even Chris Columbus has stated in interviews that he considers Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, better than the original.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. I think we can definitely all agree to that as well.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear the opinions of the audience on whether or not they agree the sequel is better than the original. You can watch both right now if you have a Disney Plus subscription.
And that's exactly what I did. I actually have both of them also on VHS, but as we've discussed, I still do not have a TV VCR combo. But yeah, still great movies. A great double feature Sunday night, or Saturday night, whatever day it was that I did it with my wife. And both were having us laughing and definitely reminiscing about watching them as kids, because that's when I watched them the first time. I didn't see them in theaters, though. I watched them at home.
Yeah.
And I definitely wish I could have seen them in theaters. That would have been a lot of fun. But the fact that they live on now is two of great Christmas classics that you can add to your list of Christmas movies to watch, even with your family, because maybe as an adult, your parents might tell you that you might have acted like Kevin once or twice.
Yes, and they are classics. Home Alone 2 celebrated its 30th anniversary just 2.5 weeks ago, which is great.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Because it was released in November of 1992. Now, the first movie had a budget of $18 million
Oh, nice.
and made $476 million worldwide.
Wow.
Massive, which is, of course, why they went and made a sequel 2 years later.
Definitely.
The sequel had a budget of $28 million, so a bit of an increase, but not too bad.
Yeah, sure.
And in the U.S., it made $173 million.
Nice.
And worldwide, it made $359 million.
Wow.
So the
Man.
first one made 476. The second one came roaring back with $359 million as a sequel.
As a sequel, yeah.
Very
that's
impressive.
Great.
Very
Great.
impressive work. Yes. And John, for the holiday, would you watch it with your grandma?
Yeah, I would. I think I actually have in the past when Grandma would come over for Christmas. It would, but like I said, my mom was a big fan too, so we would usually have it on within the week before Christmas, and that's usually a good time to watch it. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely would watch it with Grandma.
Me too. My sister Amber watches this movie with my mother many times during the Christmas holiday when we are visiting. I just haven't ever gotten around to sitting down with them to watch it with them. They both adore this movie, and I was always off doing something else. And
Sure.
now I will absolutely sit down and watch it with them because I love it. And so, yes, the holiday is very accessible to everyone. Even though it's a rom-com, there isn't any nudity. There's
Nope.
very few, if any, swear words, right?
Yeah, I don't think there might be a few. Yeah, I
Very
think Jack Black does say
family-friendly.
fuck once, but yeah, it is still pretty family friendly.
Yes.
And V, would you watch Home Alone 2 Lost in New York with your grandma?
I absolutely would, and I really want to introduce both these films to my nieces who are 9 and 11. So
Oh, nice.
anybody who is the age of Kevin in these movies, which as I
Yes.
said is 8 and 10 in both of them, can absolutely watch these films.
I agree indeed.
Slapstick comedy, but no real cuss words, and it's literally a kid-driven movie.
Exactly. Yeah. 100% agree. Great stuff.
Nice.
Well, that about wraps up this episode. I had a blast discussing both of these movies, as I love both of them. Actually, all three, because since we kind of touched on Home Alone as well. And V, I'm still very thrilled that you enjoyed the holiday so much.
Me too. Again, thank you so much for introducing me to that movie.
Absolutely. And a fun little Christmas present that we've received here at Movies You've Missed podcast. We did get a new review, and V, I believe you'd like to read that off to us.
Yes, so we have a new review from SF Mama, and it says, fun, interesting, and insightful. Really enjoying these weekly episodes, either learning about movies I have indeed missed or revisiting movies I've enjoyed. I appreciate their insight, fun facts, and easy banter between these two who are clearly good friends and respect difference of opinion. Most days.
Most days. Well, very cool.
Yeah, and so thank you so much, SF Mama, for that review. You will be receiving a sticker from our podcast. We still
Hey.
have that promotion going, so please take a moment and write us up a quick review in Apple Podcasts app. And even if you only have a second, you can always scroll down to the bottom of our profile and just tap those 5 stars at the bottom. Even if you're not in the mood to write something right now, if you tap those 5 stars at the bottom, that also gets submitted and is still very, very helpful for us. So any interaction we can get on Apple Podcasts is extremely helpful. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you guys very much for all of that. And do continue to listen because it's going to continue on here at Movies You Missed with some more Christmas movies. V, would you like to tell the audience what your next pick is?
Yes, next week I decided to go with a classic. I have picked the special that I watched every single year on TV growing up. This is A Charlie Brown Christmas.
Nice. I like that one quite a bit.
Yeah,
I think I have a VHS copy of that one as well.
of course you do.
So yeah, definitely in my collection of movies. I'm looking forward to watching that one again.
Yes, and if anybody wants to watch that, if it's not airing on live TV or you don't have cable anymore this holiday season, you can watch it on Apple TV Plus.
Perfect. That's where I will be watching it since I only have the VHS copy of it.
Great, and as a companion to that kid-friendly Christmas movie, what have you picked?
I chose a film from 1992 produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Jim Henson Studios, directed by Brian Henson, starring Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge, and also starring our favorites Kermit, Miss Piggy, and Gonzo, and Animal, etc., etc. This is The Muppet Christmas Carol. This is one of my most favorite tellings of that classic Charles Dickens tale.
I'm so excited to watch it.
Me too. I watch it every year. The music is fantastic. It holds up. It's hilarious. It's heartfelt. It's just wonderful, and I really can't wait to watch it. And if anybody would like to follow along and watch The Muppet Christmas Carol with us, it is streaming on Disney Plus currently right now.
Because of course it is.
Of course it is. It really is a fantastic film, and it's great. Can't wait.
Great. Me either. I'm very excited.
Wonderful.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in this week. We hope you join us again next week. Make sure to click subscribe on any podcast app that you listen to us so you get those notifications when our new episodes drop every Wednesday. You can also follow us on social media at Movies You Miss Pod. We are always excited to interact with our listeners, so feel free to reach out anytime. We would love to have a conversation with you. And until our next episode, we like to close off with, film is a form of art, and in art, every opinion is valid, Except if you think
Avatar: The Way of Water is going to fail.
there's no way, even if it's crap, there's no
Exactly.
way it's going to
That's
not
what
make
I'm
a ton
saying.
of money. Yes.
Exactly. No, there's been a lot of people out there these days. There's like, no, it's going to fail. Nobody's going to see it. It's been too long. Yada yada yada. They're going to see it. Everybody's going to see it. The world will be completely immersed in Avatar for the next several weeks, I feel like.
And when you listen to this podcast, there are 2 days left before it premieres.
Indeed, there are, and boy, oh boy, am I ever excited. I
Yes,
can't wait.
and we're going to the theaters to see it together.
Yes, we are. That's going to be a blast. Looking forward to it so
Yes.
much.
Me too. But until then, thanks everyone.
Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.